Good morning, everyone. All right, so what a crash yesterday. Whoo! Big, big crash yesterday. We are going to be looking at crypto first because crypto got hammered the hardest, and I know you guys are sweating, so we're gonna talk about it. But I promise we will get to the markets here. This will be a quick live for me today. Thank you for joining me. This is the first time I've done this on my laptop. So yesterday I attempted this and the audio didn't work. So oops. But today is different. Today is a different day. Bitcoin bouncing, everything bouncing big. You can see over here in the change, Bitcoin's up 7%, XRP's up 17%, HBAR's up 11%. I believe Solana's up 6%. So total crypto market is bouncing too off of these major Fibonacci levels. Bitcoin, if I had to guess, you'll probably see it hit about 68,000, maybe before the end of the stream. Now, is this the bottom? I don't know, man. I don't know. My Ethereum, I bought right when it hit the GAN, and yes, I bought a falling knife, but that's my strategy. I know, that's crazy, right? I'm like the only person that's on YouTube that's going to try to catch the bottom. But you know what? At the end of the day, I have assets that I like to own, and I'm going to buy them when they're low. And this is how I determine when they're low. I could wait for a basing formation or a little bounce or a little curl up, but sometimes those are like right here. Sometimes those are just bear flags. This seems like a pretty good measured move though. Usually there's an A, B, C correction, and we have a whole month here to reclaim this 2260 level, and it could happen pretty quick. Do I think this is the absolute bottom? I'm not sure. 10 a.m. today, I think Eastern time, Iran and the United States are going to have their nuclear talks. It's not starting out super well because I think the State Department informed every American in Iran to get out now. That's never a great sign. But yeah, Bitcoin, I do think this is going to hold 68,000 level, at least for a moment. So I am expecting a slight more of a bounce. Let's take a look at XRP. XRP is like hanging on for dear life here. Maybe if I go to a linear scale, yeah, it's reacting. What level is this? This is so it's reacting off the golden pocket. We're in the golden pocket right now for XRP, and typically, it's not that unheard of for it to come back down to that 0.382 level. Now, worst case scenario in my mind is that this thing comes down and hits this angle here. It never really hit it back here in July of 2024. And I'm pretty confident in this GAN square. It's to the penny. So, absolutely it could come down to that, but I don't know. We're kind of in an in-betweener. If you haven't, bought this dip, then I don't know if you should, but I did. XLM, this is another one. It looks, the chart looks a lot like my Ethereum chart as far as like when it hit resistance and where it's trying to hang on to support. The one thing that gives me the most amount of pause is my total chart. Total could come back down to 1.92. That would be a sad day. Absolutely. Solana is still holding within this arc, and I'm holding out for hope that we consolidate in this arc until we get closer to Clarity Act, because Clarity Act kind of fell through, didn't it? They pushed it off till the spring, and so maybe we're in timeout right now for crypto. There's uncertainty. There's not clarity, but hopefully it curls up, bounces back up, and we make our way up to here. And who knows, like by 2027, we could be right back at all-time highs or above for some of these crypto assets. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Let's take a look at silver. my silver chart is holding pretty firm here. It did pretty much what I expected it to do. It came back down to these GANs because it just cut through these GANs like butter just about. It had a moment where it wanted to consolidate at this level, and then it just pushed higher. And typically with market symmetry, the way it works is once it hits these levels, algorithms start to react to those levels, and it usually likes to hang out at those levels. You can see down here it hung out at these levels for a long time. And it was in 2024 that it started to separate, and that's kind of when I started buying my ounces of silver. Is it time to buy silver again? If you wanted to accumulate, like if you're like, oh, I missed this move, and you have it in your heart that you want to accumulate silver, this actually isn't the worst spot to do it, because I think that you're going to have time to build a position in here. Now, let me go to the monthly, because I know that this is a longer GAN. So on the monthly, though, the monthly is a little bit more accurate. It absolutely could come back down to like 55, right around the 55 level. If it came down to the 55 level, I actually probably would start buying silver again, me personally, just because my average is so low, and I did get a pretty good position started in it. The SPY. Let's take a look at the SPY. The SPY, now this is actually pretty predictable what has happened looking, in retrospect. I'm surprised that the SPY hasn't come down more, but we bumped our head into the 1.618 Fibonacci from the previous year's high down to the liberation lows, and we made our move up to the 1.618. And this angle right here is my angle of, my GAN angle of safety. So, my expectation is that we hit this before we hit this. And that means that money invested in the S&P 500 today, in 2 years, you're only going to get 8% over 2 years. So we are definitely, as far as I'm concerned, in a stock picker's market. I don't know that investing in the indexes is the move. Now, most of the stocks that me and you own are probably components of the S&P 500, so they will probably correlate. However, many of the stocks that me and you own, I've already taken an absolute whipping. One sector that I do like quite a bit, there's two sectors that I like a lot. One of them is energy. Energy, I do believe, is going to, what happened to this GAN? Sec here. I don't know what happened here. Here, let's do this. So energy looks like it is re-rating, and I think that we're going to have an absolute pop up to here, and that could occur over the next year as the S&P 500 draws down. So energy stocks like ExxonMobil, Chevron, Baker Hughes, Marathon Petroleum has been pumping, and ConocoPhillips. Those are my big dogs. My 4 or 5 horsemen that I'm riding to sort of hedge my positions. It's not a full hedge, but it's, it helps to be in something that you can look at and go, all right, well, at least at least I feel right about that. Let's take a look at individual stocks. There's a couple that I want to look at. One of them is Amazon. Amazon came all the way down to $222, actually $202. And that means that it's actually below this GAN angle of safety, which means that, in my opinion, it's in deep value territory. We could have a wick down to this like 188. That would be a load the boat situation. Now, one other thing that could happen here, a lot of the hyperscalers, a lot of the Mag 7, they're spending money hand over fist, and the market doesn't like it. And that could cause the index to draw down while other stocks do well, like where all that money is going, like gas and energy, like nuclear, like iron, Nebius. Those sort of stocks could see continued performance from here because that's where the money flows are going. NVIDIA is another one. Semiconductors are still strong. We're down to 171, which is sitting right here, like right near the. Actually, we're back up to 177. So we already we already like tapped this angle here, and we're already bouncing back up to these GAN levels here at 177. It's a pretty firm floor. I just don't know how the Mag 7 can keep spending money on NVIDIA chips and for this thing to fall down to like the point of control at 121, or maybe the GAN arc right around 113, 118. I don't see that happening. And I mean, where would it go from there? My market symmetry on this chart is spot on. You could see, it was using this as its it was following this, and then it fell down and used this as safety, and then it re-rated, and it just has been ripping since 2018, 2016. And now it's up on this gain angle. And I do think, this thing is growing. It's not like this angle is growing at like a crazy CAGR. If I go 50 or 12 months out, I see a 35% return from this level if we continue along that angle. That's a pretty, for a semiconductor stock like NVIDIA, that's not crazy at all. Some other retail favorites here. Let's take a look at SoFi. SoFi is falling out of bed. There's no other way to put it. This thing could be on its way back down to maybe like the $14 or $15 mark. I haven't sold a single share. Just because my average is down here at like $12. So, I'm holding these shares for a long, long time. I expect SoFi to be a $50, $60, $70 stock, sooner than anyone thinks. So I don't feel like selling any of those. Zeta had a pretty nice bounce. I drew this like VWAP down from the liberation lows, and we're resting. We bounced and we're resting right on that VWAP. So this is a key level to defend. And if you were looking to add Zeta, if you missed the mania, I mean, you're getting a second chance right now to hop in. None of this is financial advice, of course. Tesla, it's all a computer. Tesla could fall down. It could fall down. I would like to see it hold this $405 level, which is what it is trying to do, but it could fall down. That being said, the 12-month return that I see is right back to all-time highs of 486. This is a 22% return. Pretty good, but for a stock like Tesla, which is so volatile, I expect a little bit more return when investing in that one. I do want to talk about IRON. I'm the only one not surprised by what's happening, because we got up here and actually here, let me see. Oh, where'd my RSI go? Oh, here, I have to unhide that. The RSI on the monthly got all the way up to like 85. That's overcooked, that is a well done in the RSI world. And so a pullback was just kind of inevitable. We bounced off this arc, and I do think and hope that this angle saves it and it follows this up. And, if you have shares today, it's not going to be dead money very long. I think, in 4 months at a minimum, you're going to actually probably before that, probably like 3 months, we'll be right where we are at a minimum. And then, 12 months from now, we're 100% higher. That could happen from where we are today. Absolutely. Why not? So I don't mind when I hear people are investing in IRON and Nebius at these levels, but just understand, this move was completely predictable if you use charts. So many, personalities don't use their charts. That is a mistake. There's three elements. There's the macro, there's the fundamentals, there's the macro geopolitical, there's the world, like what is going on with gold and the dollar and bonds and all that stuff. That affects the whole market, all the markets. Then you have fundamentals, which is digging into the balance sheet and the revenue growth and all that stuff into a company like IRON. But then you have the charts. And the charts can tell you when things are beginning to get a little overvalued too, or extended, when price action is getting extended. Maybe IRON really is worth $72, but it just can't get there all at once. And that's why you got to pay attention to the charts too. The charts will tell you where things are going before the news will tell you where things are going. That's why buy the rumor, sell the news is a thing. All right. Let's take a look at some of these oil stocks. I'm going to take a look at the 4-hour chart here real quick so we can see some pre-market action. Yeah, ConocoPhillips continues to kind of hold up steady. Baker Hughes had a huge move, and it's continuing on its bull run. Chevron, same thing. Marathon Petroleum had a melt up. It's melting up as we speak, but it is hitting some levels of resistance. Just for those that are just tuning in, Marathon Petroleum and Chevron, they have the ability to refine the heavy crude oil that is in Venezuela, and so they're going to be big beneficiaries with those. One other one, actually, let's take a look at two others. Shopify is one where it came down to levels, and I bought a falling knife, and it is holding a level right there. And this is another chart that I trust a lot because it explains so much of the price action dating back to 2016 when it went public. You can see it followed this angle, fell apart, worked its way through, and it's been using this as a level of support. And you can see it's on an absolutely massive volume shelf right now. So I do expect this number to hold, and actually Shopify is one of the better opportunities in the market because they have a good balance sheet. 12 months from here, you're looking at a 46% gain from these levels. That's a thing of beauty. CrowdStrike, I've been playing around with a couple different Gann charts because there hasn't been one Gann that I've drawn that I really absolutely love or am in love with. This one seems to explain it because typically when we hit these Gann angles, it creates a massive resistance level, and it got shot out of the sky. Could this thing come back down to like 337, 327? Yeah, software keeps getting hammered. However, I'm in cybersecurity for the long run. Cybersecurity has an excellent TAM. Now, 24 months from here, if you're ready to hold this for a long period of time, you're up 24%. It's not the greatest gains. I have it in my bingo card that it will actually reclaim this Gann angle and move up, but nothing is guaranteed in these markets. But I am just waiting for the big cybersecurity bull run. I think it's going to come when least expected. It's probably going to be some kind of geopolitical cyber attack, something like that. I know, put on my tinfoil hat, but that's what I think. Let's take a look at AMD now. AMD coming back down to the 10-month moving average. This one has a gap to fill. Let's take a look at actually, I think the gap is even on the weekly, which makes me even more nervous. But that gap ends at 171, 172. There's also a big volume shelf there. So I'm not really looking to add more AMD until we fill that gap. And, it might spend some time in there before moving higher. That being said, these hyperscalers are spending money, so that's not guaranteed. And AMD is going to be a big recipient of that money. Palantir sold this thing at the top like a G, back up here at like 168, 170 because my market symmetry tells me that like the next level up is $365 after a run like it had. How in the world was it going to 2x from there? I just didn't see it happening. And sometimes you get lucky. Maybe I was lucky for holding it all throughout this, but this thing, I think it's coming down, and I think it's gonna, it's gonna not give great returns from these levels for some time. It's going to be over a year before we get, I think it's going to follow this angle ultimately, or maybe even this one. But I could be wrong. Palantir is one of those you don't want to fade it, but I don't see like asymmetric risk and reward coming out of it. And then let's take a look at Shark Ninja. Shark Ninja, could be coming back down to 108. The time to buy it was down here at like 85, 90. That was the time to buy it. But Shark Ninja, if I draw a 52 out from here, you're still up 23%. kind of like Amazon. It's a consumer stock. So that's where things sit. Stay calm. You know, if I had to make a prediction, and I did yesterday, I thought there would be some hope at some point today, like some kind of bounce. You're seeing it in crypto. Crypto seems to be leading the market. But I think that fear is going to re-enter the market, and we're going to have a big red candle today, ultimately. And then over the weekend, we might have some fear about Iran. You'll see more selling on Monday, but then, you know, usually the bounce happens when you least expect it. You know, Liberation Day, like the big bounce started before we got any clarity. So I would not wait for clarity. You know, and this is not financial advice. I'm a big dip buyer. I'm not sweating right now because I bought all of my stocks at the levels that they're at right now, months and months ago. I didn't add any of them when they were at the top, except for Shark Ninja. I did add when it got up to like this 120 area because I thought that it was, you know, smooth sailing. But you know what I did? I waited for it to go down to more appetizing levels, and I scaled into it. And so building positions over time on dips in stocks that you love, it's just the way to go. It's how you make money in these markets. All right, well, stay calm, trade risky, and until next time, Risky Ryan out.